Hello, my name is Melanie Gracia, and this is my environmental design for play project. The way in which I will present my ideas will primarily consist of me talking in front of the camera, and I actually drew the designs instead of adopting visuals from the internet just because I felt it would be more authentic to translate like my vision onto paper. And although I am not an architect whatsoever, I did try my best. I took my time drawing and sketching and coloring, so with that said, here's my project. Okay, this is what we're going to be working with. As you can see, I wanted to provide multiple pictures at different angles of the room I will be redesigning. And this is actually my little cousin's room. I just remember walking through this room and thinking it had a lot of potential and fit my vision best, as you will see very soon. I actually already had ideas prior to seeing the room, but when I walked in the room, I was like, okay, this is gonna work best with what I want to do as far as redesigning. Now, this is 100% hypothetical, which was probably a given, but I'm going to assume that there is no budget and just kind of let my imagination take over for this project. Nonetheless, instead of using the term changes, I'd actually like to call it themes, in which certain changes will be falling under those themes. And my three themes are: one, connection to nature; two, a space imitating real life; and three, be who you want to be. And after going through, my notes and all the articles we read, I decided to use Theories of Childhood by Jean Piaget from week 10, Quality of Outdoor Spaces for Young Children from week 12, and Using Queer Theory to Rethink Gender Equity in Early Childhood Education from the week 6 readings. So when brainstorming for this project, I just knew I had to incorporate the outdoors in some sort of way. I remember in the 5th grade, we had a whole garden right outside our classroom where we could be a part of the landscape and help plant seeds, help dig holes for planting the seeds, and we would learn about environmental sustainability, photosynthesis, and whatnot. Referring to the article from week 12 titled Quality Outdoor Spaces for Young Children, I think it's always important to utilize the outdoors, especially right now in a generation where children are glued to iPads and PlayStations. I think reconnecting young children to nature promotes, hands-on learning and outdoor play. Okay, so for my first sketch, I attempted to do what artists call bird's eye view, which is kind of perspective from above. And as you can see, I took down 3 of those walls right there and essentially created one huge window door situation that directly leads into what people call the greenhouse. Instead of learning what plants through a textbook, I feel implementing a garden where they could physically experience what it's like to garden would be more engaging for students. So there I added some shovels and a pitcher for watering the plants. So that is my first design. So a space imitating real life was pretty much inspired by the article from Jean Piaget when he dives deep into symbolic play as young children between the ages of 3 and 5, I believe, begin to make sense of objects around them. They begin to understand the anatomy of daily functions as they learn from their parents, educators, and pretty much everyone around them. And I like to say children are like mirrors, specifically young children. They see someone use an object for a specific task, and then they go and try to essentially do the same. Piaget argues that cognitive development is in a parallel with meaningful and hands-on activities. Thus, I decided to add things children see every day and implement a toy refrigerator with toy food, a toy sink, a toy stove, and a table, etc. I wanted to add several elements that help children better demonstrate their funds of knowledge. Over here on the left, I wanted to incorporate this toy I used as a kid and have yet to learn the name of it, but children can start to have an understanding of shapes. And essentially what all these elements share is the fact that they serve to complement children's imagination and really amplify their time and space of play. For example, they could use the toy animals right here and imagine themselves in the savannas of Africa, or they could use the pretend kitchen and prepare dinner for each other. For my third and final theme, I felt the need to establish an area of the room where children were free to express themselves as they pleased. Hence, the theme is based off the article we read weeks ago regarding queer theory, and if I'm being 100% honest, I was not educated upon the topic prior to the class, like at all. And after reading and discussing the issues with that some children face when they were judged based on their gender expression, not aligning with their biological sex, I felt I could not include changes to the room that related to this article. Now, it is clear I am no Picasso, so for the reassurance, this right here is a firefighter suit. This is a lab coat with a stethoscope. I remember as a child playing doctor and just kind of imagining myself helping other people feel better. Moving along, this is a princess gown, this is a Superman cape, and lastly, this is a Spider-Man suit, and they're kind of all being like hung up like on racks. Hopefully that makes sense too. But these are just a few costumes for the references, and I wanted to designate an area in the room where children had no restrictions to their gender expression of any kind. If a boy wanted to put on the dress, he would, and he'd be more than welcome to. And same applies if a young girl wanted to try on the Spider-Man suit, she'd also be more than welcome to do the same. And by having this space for children to freely choose how to dress with no stereotypes put in place, educators are essentially breaking down that toxic barrier regarding the emphasis that children should dress according, to their sex. Reaching the end to my presentation, I really enjoyed the idea of the project and the strong emphasis about how space, children are exposed to really does dictate the way they utilize their play and agency as well. With that in mind, I did create an approach for redesigning the room, by asking myself several questions such as, okay, how do I include the outdoors? What type of toys should I add that will help them better understand their knowledge of, everyday functions, what about culture and gender identity? Maybe I should create an area, so they can express themselves through costumes or, etc. This type of awareness about the classroom environment from an educator is, just as impactful as, their words and actions towards the children. And as a future elementary teacher, these type of projects only excite me more as to how I eventually plan to design and decorate my classroom, even though that's years away. But the knowledge I gained from, assignments like this or other classes related to my career, remains timeless. I hope the drawings and my visuals were understandable. I also attached an annotated bibliography citing, the articles I used in APA format. So with that said, thank you for watching and listening.